Nice, this two.
I'm holding
Be under, yo,
front window, behind. One shot dead.
Nice, missing one.
Hold on.
Nice, server, admin.
He's not weak. Hold on me.
Did you stay alive?
Nice,
Nice, go in there.
nice.
I'm telling you.
Hold on. Fast.
Both down, yeah.
Fire done.
Nice, guys.
Yep.
Holy f***, you had a miserable day. Just like...
Actually miserable, bro. What you did? He just flipped the camera off. Yeah, look at Wedgie, 39.
What a miserable day. Oh my god. Oh,
Just flipping the camera.
On this level, I guess the burrito level. Like, I love talking on the burrito level. Like,
Say please.
Yo, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Borito Talk podcast. I am your host, Borito, the #1 CDL ESPN analyst / content creator in the world. And Paris is right around the corner. And I gotta just say, I can't believe Mark's going without me. I can't believe I didn't just go, okay? Before we get started, I'm just gonna do a quick little 30-second rant. What I should have done, because, like, I'm so mad I'm missing this event. It's gonna be one of the biggest events. I could have been with Mark all weekend, you know, like, we could have been seeing Paris. What I should have done is leave the place I'm at right now, because my landlord just wanted to move in, so he would have been fine with anything. I should have paid him for like the first week of June, left early, put all my stuff in storage, stayed at my brother's house, and just used the rest of that rent money and just gone. Because I already have my ticket paid for. The rest of that rent money could have been on, you know, could have been on anything. Or, I mean, hotel. It could have paid for food, you know. That could have been the whole week, and it would have been just fine. But instead, here we are, June 23rd, still looking for a place to live. Probably gonna put my things in storage, but, you know, it'll pay for Vegas, I guess. So, yeah. So, here we are, 4 days away from the major, and we are going to do our infamous bracket prediction. There's probably not going to be as much prediction in the map vetoes as possible, because now I feel like the matches are a lot more predictable for me. At the beginning of the season, it's kind of like, oh, teams are going to pick this map, pick that map. Obviously, you're probably going to do for grand finals and like the big matches, but I think this bracket's a lot more straightforward, to me at least. So just to compensate for the time, because the bracket prediction will probably go a lot faster, I have 5 games to talk about here. 5 games to talk about from the past weekend of qualifiers, which was the last weekend of Major 4 qualifiers, or the last week of online qualifiers for CDL. Look, I can't even speak. So, I want to talk about these 2 G2 games. So, they played Koi, lost 3-2. They played Falcons, lost 3-2. And the story of both of these games, from the perspective of G2, is what a bunch of chokers. That's like the best way to put it. What a bunch of chokers. It's borderline unacceptable, because I remember when this team got put together, I was tweeting and I was saying it was an upgrade. Obviously, it's an upgrade compared to the last roster, duh. But this team has a history of inconsistent players. Envoy, history of it being inconsistent, even though he's like a multi-time champion, all that good stuff. Skies, history of inconsistency. Cramp, great player. History of choking and inconsistency. Nasty history of choking and inconsistency. It like breeds with every player on their team, even though they're all good players. And putting all 4 of them together, you know, you're going to get what you got. And I mean, a lot of people are going to say it's not that big a deal, because if you take a look at the bracket, they play Falcons first round, which is not bad, but then you walk into OpTic and, you know, whatever happens there happens. It's either that or you're on the side with FaZe and you're side with LAT in Paris. I mean, either side is like not that great. But you did get a pretty decent match first round with the Falcons. But to me, it's more about the online standings and the standings going into champs, because this is the last major before champs, which means they're the last points accounted for before they do the bracket for champs. And if we look at the overall season standings, G2 right now is at 220 in 7th place, which means they would play the number 2 seed, which is LAT, 425. And you know, LAT is 50 points behind OpTic, and even if LAT wins this major, they're probably not going to get it because OpTic's guaranteed at least a top 4, top 3, which is going to be at least 30 points. So they're going to be at 505. So even if LAT wins, they're not going to be past that. And so you're pretty much guaranteed if it stays like this. Obviously, you got Miami. But now Falcons is at 240 and you're at 220. If you didn't choke these 2 games, you're at 240, tied with Falcons. You play them, or I mean, you probably won't even play this weekend. But if you just do better than them at this weekend, you now stay in 6th, probably go up to 5th, maybe past Toronto Koi as well, because Toronto Koi was also a team that beat you. So they would have been at 250, you would have been at 240. And it would have put you in a better position, because in the 6th, 5th spot, then you start to face like the FaZes and the Parises. You start to face those teams. But what you don't want, first round of the World Championship, regardless of how inconsistent OpTic's doing, you don't want to play OpTic first round. And you don't want to play like these first round, because they beat you down time after time after time again. You don't want them first round at champs. Your best spot was being somewhere in the middle pack where you could take your chances against a FaZe or a Paris. Or even like a Koi, maybe. Maybe you might get a Koi. But right now, they're in 7th place. They're 20 points off of Falcons. So if Falcons just beats them, let's say Falcons beats them in this winner's bracket match, then they pass them. And they probably stay 7th, and then they have to walk into LAT first round of champs, probably get knocked right into losers, your year's over before you know it. So these 2 matches were way more important than a lot of people might think. I thought they were extremely important. And the match with Koi, I mean, we'll talk about the match. Which match was first? I don't even know. The match with Falcons was first. It was a 3-2. 3-2. Okay. They got battered on the Colossus, 250 to 124. Oh my goodness. No longer crep losses anymore. I mean, I'm pretty sure we figured that one out. They won Gridlock S&D 6-3, lost exposure 4-3. Don't know why we're playing Falcons on their best map of Overload. They're literally the best Overload exposure team, and it's not going to change. And G2 is the one that picked the map, which means they have no confidence in their Den and their Scar, which I don't know who was behind that decision, but why are we playing Falcons on exposure Overload? Like, let's get a grip on that one. And you're not even going to need to play that map because LAT and OpTic don't play it. Or, I mean, OpTic actually does play it, but you could ban that map against them, you know, if you're thinking about the teams above you. And then they beat them. Gridlock, hardpoint, 250 to 138. Good bounce back from G2, but that map is pretty newbie. And then the Den, search and destroy. 2 rounds in a row. It was diabolical. At 4-4, you know, you got a 3v2 over on B. I mean, should I just pull this up? I should have some clips open. All right, so this is mainly for my people on video, but obviously for audio, I'm going to do my best to explain it for you as well. So it's 4-4. It's 4-4. Game number 5. Den, search and destroy. G2 is on defense, and they just got a bunch of kills. Kremp and Envoy pushed up the tower side, pieced a bunch of people. It is now MC on the tower side, and Kremp and Envoy are right there. And Skies is over bottom servers. So picture that in your head. Falcons is on offense, G2's on defense. Skies is all the way over bottom labs. Okay, he's over bottom labs. Actually, I forgot Envoy died. Okay, Envoy died. So Skies is bottom server. Nasty is at 10. He's on the other side of 10 facing Dojo. And Kremp is pushed up tower side right beside MC, just on the other side of like this like radio door or whatever you want to call it. So it's a 3v1 for G2. MC's the only one left. He has an AR. He's preeming into 10 from back tower side. And it's a 3v1, and Kremp, all alone, pushes him, and gets stuck in there. And now it's a 2v1, okay? Skies now leaves bottom labs, goes towards middle, then he backs up towards labs. And still, at this point in time, I'm curious, why did Skies not run to Nasty. Okay, that's the main question I have. You're already middle, and you know he's back tower. You're not going to get bad timing. Push up the hallway and let Nasty watch, and you guys pretty much have each other's angles covered, and you could get right beside him instantly. But he says no. Okay, he says no. So right here, Nasty gets shot at by MC. MC pushes up into Tin, gets shot at by Nasty. Sky's still nowhere fucking near. And then he finally shows up, and he gets pissed on by MC. And I was just like, why did you not run to your fucking teammate in the 2v1? Okay, why'd you not do that? And then they get pieced, like, for no reason. I don't even know how he even pieced them. It's actually ridiculous. I mean, he barely hit him with a pistol. He only took 4 HP off of him. And he just smokes guys. And then it's 5-4. Falcons on defense, G2 on offense. Crump gets a nade kill. And it is now a 4v3 for G2. And I think somebody on G2 dies because, like, they troll. I don't know why. But right now, okay, it's a 4v3. G2 has 3 guys. Okay, they have 3 guys on B. They got 2 guys pushed up in Dojo. They got 1 guy in Tin. And they got 1 guy watching back tower side. You got 2 guys on Dojo. Why is the bomb not being planted? In a 4v3 numerical advantage, why are you not trying to just now give Falcons a countdown? Instead, they're sitting there and they're sitting there. And Kismet's right at the bottom of the steps. Crim doesn't see him, unfortunately. But look, they have a man advantage. Nobody is planting. I know there's a guy in mid staring at the bomb, but Exit actually ends up sniping Nasty on the bomb. Okay? And Envoy gets the trade on Xnid mid. And now you see Kismet back Dojo shooting. And they kind of know like the other guys around mid somewhere. Why are they still not planting the bomb? Right now, they can plant the bomb. They got 2 guys Dojo side and they got the guy on the bomb. They're not planting the bomb. Instead, they opt to run through fucking middle and into a 2-piece from MC. And then Skies is the last one left. He trades MC in middle, and now it's a 1v1. He picks up the bomb bottom labs. And instead of planting the mother effing bomb, he just sits there, and he sits there, and he waits. He thinks someone's going to come through servers and checks the bomb. Nobody comes, and he does not plant the bomb, and they lose the game. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. And then we're going to play the Koi one. I think out of both of them, I think the Falcons one is worse. But I want to play this 5-5 just to show you guys what it should be like when you have a numerical advantage. Because I've been watching professional Call of Duty for a long time. And it still amazes me, okay? It still amazes me. It still astounds me how professional players, the best players in the world, have no idea how to play man advantages in Search and Destroy. So it is Fringe, S&D. It's 5-5. Koi is on defense. G2's on offense. Majority of G2, aka 3 of them, are around A, and they've been throwing shoulders. There's been some tacks and some nades that have been thrown. Koi is very well aware. Majority of the team's over at A. There's been shoulders thrown. There's been some shots fired. They know majority of them are at A. And this enables Kips to now run up the train side on defense while Nasty's playing an island in L. And Nasty runs back from L to go pick him up at train. And he gets him. And now it is now a 4v3. Okay? And this one's hindsight, but I just want to give you guys my brain at S&D. Okay? I want to give you guys my brain at S&D. Because it's all about reacting about the information around you. Sometimes you have to make a brave play. Obviously, you have to learn how to play your numbers. So if I knew that my G2 team was at A for 30 seconds, half a minute, they're at A, 30 seconds, throwing nades, throwing tacks, basically drawing all of Koi over to A. And I just got to kill train side, which means there was one guy watching B, and he just ran up train side because he thought our whole team was going A. Which means if he thinks it, his whole team is thinking it. So if he runs up train side, he is definitely the only person train side. So my hindsight, not saying Nasty should have done this. This is just my hindsight thing before I talk about what they should have done. When I get that kill on Kips, I am running up the train side. Okay? I'm getting that kill on Kips, I'm running up the train side. Because now I know, bro, he was the only one over at B. I'm now spreading them up. I'm pushing up this train side. And here's where it's not hindsight. I am now going B and I'm asking my team to rotate. Okay, that is option number 1. I now got the one guy that was B who thinks the whole team's going A, which means everyone else is going to be A or mid. And I got the one guy B. I have free reign to push up this B side. And let's say if Nasty push up the B side and someone is at B and they get him, his team has a 3v2 at A. So either way, you're getting him at advantage. You're getting information even if he dies on an island, because you're now going to have a temporary 3v2 to either plant the bomb or isolate the other players and get kills, get trades. So it works in your way either way, even if he gets that first blood. Sometimes use the first blood to get more information, to isolate, and, you know, but yeah, I mean, I guess players don't know that. But anyways, he gets the kill over on train side, and we're going to see this play through. So now you see G2, Envoy throwing shoulders at the front door of A on Fringe, and he's throwing shoulders, and Nasty is back L staring mid, okay? And now I'm thinking, Nasty, your whole team's at A. You guys obviously aren't going to go B anymore. Why are you not just going wide mid on the truck to clear out this inner A part? Like this inner A part where you hop in through the windows. Why are you not trying to clear that out? At least the window spot that you know everybody uses. Why not try to condense on that and push that out? And if you somehow die there or you engage in someone, Envoy and Kremp are literally right there to sprint inside and start getting trades. So it works either way. But right now, he's not doing anything. And he's like the most important person on the team. The island player, a lot of the times, is the most important player. And he should be sliding at the truck. He should be looking at that angle. If he stares at the angle, if he goes on the white truck, Kleenex is dead. I don't even know why Kleenex is even there. He's standing there too. He's not even prone. He's just standing there in between the windows. If Nasty just swings left, he kills him on the truck. But Nasty's not doing anything. He's just staring mid. He should be swinging mid, and if he dies, like back bar, and let's say the guy's back barred, he kills him. That's all the information that you need. Because now they know, okay, there's a guy back barn. There's probably only going to be one guy in A because there's going to be a guy around the backside. We could just flood inside A. Either way, it works. Either way, it works. But instead, Envoy and Kremp go inside A before Nasty's even anywhere there. Nasty's just staring at the back heady on the back street. Not even helping them in mid at all. And I know Kleenex on the other side of barrels, but dude, he could have hopped in. He could have helped clear this out. They could have breached and cleared this. That's what they should have done. And if you clear that out in a 4v3, the only place they could come is the hallway. Nasty can now be in this room, and he could be staring back street from in this room, and they'll have full control of A. Just have to watch the hallway. It's all cleared out, but they didn't even clear it out. And Envoy and Kremp basically walked into hell. Kremp walked in and he died in the hallway for Abe. Now Nasty tries pushing up the street, but Kleenex now hops out the window and gets him mid. And this is where the round pretty much was over from here. And now it's a 3v2. 3v2, and then G2 tries to plant. And then Koi just walks on the bomb because he tried to plant with 10 seconds left. And, you know, it was pretty much over from there. But just bad. 2 bad game 5 S&Ds from G2. And it's pretty despicable, I'm not going to lie, because you cannot be choking that much in the span of 2 days. Okay, because it means one day happened, and then, like, you didn't really learn from it, and then, like, the next day, and, like, you're still shit, you know? So, I don't really like that. Very, very bad. And that's really all I got to say about that S&D. It's just not really good for the perspective of G2. And that is a bad sign, because if you're breaking back-to-back in online qualifier matches, then I don't know what hope you're going to have for even making it anywhere far. And I know this team is probably not going to be together going into next year, obviously. But, man, just a average team, you know? Just an average team. And it's exactly what I said. They're going to be an upgrade to the last team. Obviously, like, we see the way they're contesting against, like, the top teams now. They actually look like they put up fights, and they should be winning, like, a lot of these games. But they just trolled 2 games, bro. They could have been 4-1. They could have been 4-1, the number 2 seed. Anything could have happened. And look, if they were 4-1, like, let's take a look at this. If they're 4-1, where would they be? If they're 4-1, they would have been number 2, which means Boston would have been number 7, probably. Boston would have been number 7. Yeah. Like, They could be going against Boston first round. They could be going against Boston. Like, they could have been an OpTic spot. OpTic probably would have been down in like 4th. I don't know where Falcons could have been. Falcons probably would have been ahead of them. But G2 could have been in 2nd, facing Boston first round. And then like they could have had that mid-pack matchup next, which means they could have had a very favorable bracket if they got fucking 2nd place. Because if we take a look at how the bracket panned out, so it's OpTic against Breach, and then it's Falcons against G2. So Falcons against G2. So that's 2nd against 7th and 3rd against 6th, which means if they got 2nd, they would have faced Boston, and they would have faced the winner of 3rd and 6th, which would have been Falcons against probably would have been Falcons against FaZe, honestly. Wouldn't have Falcons against FaZe, and that's a pretty good matchup. G2 probably not scared of FaZe, probably not scared of Falcons. That would have been a good matchup, and that could have been a winner's final if you just locked in on 2 matches. But now, you got to go through Falcons, and then you're 100%, because I don't see Boston beating OpTic. Spoiler. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry I spoiled my bracket ahead of time. Boston's not beating OpTic, okay? It's not happening. So, I mean, actually, you know what? It could happen. It could very well happen. It could actually happen. I'm not going to lie. It could happen. But anyways, G2 trolling, it's not good. And then I just want to very quickly talk about Vancouver, Miami. Miami, what are we doing here? And this is right before champs too. Like what are we doing? Why did we bring Real back? What is it accomplishing? And medals, okay? I didn't watch this game, okay? I didn't watch this game. I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't watch this game. I was watching the World Cup instead. I'm sorry. Medals 45 and 73, an 0.6 against Vancouver Surge. Man. like damn, you know? Significantly way less damage than everyone on his team, obviously. Just absolutely getting destroyed. I just don't even know where to begin. He went 16 and 34 on Scar Overload. That is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't even have much to say about this. I don't know why. I just wanted to briefly talk about it. Miami, how are we losing to Vancouver? Everybody picked Miami to win this series, and Vancouver goes and gets their first win of the Major 4 qualifiers against Miami. Miami talking about, oh, we're going to get better. Bro, you guys are screwed for champs. I'm telling you, Miami is screwed. They are going to be out, which is why I just don't know why they made this change, especially at this time. What did they think was going to happen? Okay, what did they think was going to happen? And if we take a look at who they're playing first round, they're in losers. They're going to play Royal Ravens. They got a chance there. That's a good 10 points. That's a good 10 points. But then, going into the next round, they play the loser of G2, Falcons, or OpTic. You know, they could get 20 points. But then after that, it's pretty much compromised. But who knows if they'll even make it past that losers round 1. But they now put themselves in a terrible spot because they're probably not going to get more than Falcons, which means they're guaranteed OpTic or LAT in the first round of champs with a team where you dropped your arguably most impactful player, I think it was, and Trix was only getting better. He was on the uptrend, and they got rid of him. Your first round of champs is against OpTic and LAT. You're screwed. Your year's over. Why even make the change? You could have brought Real on and just said next year, buddy. Why bring it? He was not even ready. And Real was even saying, I didn't play scrims or whatever for months. Okay, so why are we bringing him back in? Throwing him in the business end, the deep end of the year, the business end of the year. Why bring him in now? Just sign him and keep him. You're not going to sign him to keep him on the bench. Who gives a fuck? Okay, who gives a fuck? I'm sorry. I'm swearing. Excuse my French. Who gives a fuck? Okay, Trix has been playing. Trix has been getting better. Every team has a small downtrend. Miami's downtrend was not that bad. And they just used it as an excuse to get rid of Trix. And not even bench him, but get rid of him and just bring Real in. Like, what did we accomplish from this move? You deserve everything that's coming to you. Miami is absolutely compromised. That's all I got to say. And then Koi loses to OpTic 3-2. All I got to say about this series is if you're OpTic, this is a very bad win. You know, it's good that you won. Obviously, you needed to win this. Others would be 2 and 3, and who knows what will happen. But this is a bad win. 250 to 177 hardpoint win for Koi, first map. A 6-3 gridlock win for OpTic. A 4-3 exposure overload win for OpTic. A 250 to 208 loss on Sake hardpoint for OpTic. And a 6-5 Den S&D win for OpTic. And OpTic is very lucky that Koi has no idea how the fuck to play S&D. Because on the map number 5, okay, if it goes 6-5, okay, you're guaranteed, okay, you have played at least 5 rounds of offense, 5 rounds of defense. I think, yeah. 5 rounds of offense, 5 rounds of defense. In that map number 5, Koi let OpTic plant the bomb 6 times. And Koi only planted once. In a game where OpTic had 6 offense rounds, you let them plant the bomb every single offense. How do you expect to win the game? You allowed them to plant 6 out of 6 offensive rounds in game number 5. What kind of strategies, what kind of philosophy in S&D are we implementing here? If you let them plant 6 rounds, it means you weren't being aggressive enough, or you were just in the back of your spawn. That's it. Like, you weren't playing aggressive enough, you had no idea what you're doing. That's what that means. You cannot let a team plant every single offense. At least one, at least 2 of those S&D, at least two of those freaking defenses, you should have been able to just slay them out without them even being able to plant the bomb. How do you let them plant Den? Like, it's a small map too. It's not even a big map. Den, you let them plant all 6 rounds on offense that they had. I'm looking at the players. I'm looking at the coaches. What kind of philosophy is this? That we're going to depend on retakes that we're not even good at, by the way. Like, we're not even like a guaranteed, we're going to retake and we win. Like, we trust our retake so much. We're just allowing them to plant the bomb because then it makes it safer because then we know they're all on this side of the map. Not a conducive way to play search and destroy. And I would be sick to my stomach if I was in charge of this team watching them play S&D like this and I allowed this. There's no way. This has to be, honestly, this is me speculating now. This has to be a Flux Insight fucking wombo combo. Because I can't imagine Kips or Abe is okay with the other team planting the bomb every freaking offense that they have. And every defense, we just sit there and play retakes. I'm sure they don't like playing that way. If I had to take a guess, there's no way they like... These guys play S&D, chows. I watched the way these guys play S&D. They don't let teams just plant the bomb. This is like a play style that I know Insight is like definitely favorable on. And I know the coach had some influence on this, and that's why I just don't like it. And I feel in the offseason, honestly, I feel like they need a new coach. I feel like they need a new coaching staff. I mean, I know it's only one player now because they don't have Joe anymore. I'm not talking Joe DeCease. I'm talking about like another Joe. If that's his name, if I got it right. But yeah, they just need a whole remake in their coaching staff and just a fresh new philosophy on how to play the game, because it is just not updated with the times. Like, they're so behind on the times. They're so behind on the times with how they're playing. So behind on the times with how they're playing. It is like, am I able to think of some sort of football like analogy here? It's like, I was going to say Jose Mourinho, but now he's coaching Madrid, so I mean, it can't be that bad. But there's been a lot of football coaches, like, you'll probably think of one. There's a lot of football coaches who are just so stuck in their ways while everyone else is evolving, and then the game just passes them by. That's the best example I can think of. That's not even an example. More of a generality. But OpTic should be worried, okay? So we talked about Koi, but let's talk about OpTic. OpTic should be worried because Koi has been on a downtrend, okay? They just barely beat G2 by the skin of their teeth. They just barely beat I can't even speak. They barely beat G2. And OpTic is thinking we're a way better team than them. And you lost both your hard points. And you know, if you look at it from the perspective of OpTic, they've been struggling in Search and Destroy and Overload, and they won by winning every Search and Destroy and Overload. But your hard point cannot suffer as a result. And you should have lost like the Den, to be honest, because any other team would not be allowing you to plant the bomb 6 rounds. All 6 of your offense rounds. That wouldn't happen. And not every team is playing you on Exposure Overload, your best map. LAT is never playing you on it. FaZe would never play you on it. Paris would never play you on it. Koi, for some reason, the only team that would play you on it. And Falcons would play you on it. But those aren't the teams you're going to be seeing at the end of the tournament when you're trying to win. So we could pretty much chalk that Exposure Overload to absolutely worthless nothing, because none of the top teams are playing them on it. And Koi actually picked it, which is, I don't even understand why. So you should have lost the last map. The Overload is a map no one's going to play you on. And then Gridlock S&D is Gridlock S&D, but it's a good win regardless. But Koi doesn't even play Search and Destroy. Like, they suck at S&D. They suck at S&D. And let's take a look at Koi's overall Search and Destroy record. Their overall Search and Destroy record is 23-34. They're 1-2 on Gridlock. At Den, they're 5-9. I mean, Raid, they're 7-7. Fringe is like their only positive map, and they're 3-2 on it. At Den, they're 5-9. Colossus, 2-3. Just not a good record. It's not a good S&D team. And a lot of those wins are honestly because of Joe. A lot of those S&D wins are because of Joe. So like I can even like filter. So let's filter. Let's deselect and let's just do everything Major 4. It's probably going to include like the minor tourney in here, but that's fine. That's fine. We will, I'm not sure if the 520, I think the 529 was included. So ever since May 29th, okay? Ever since May 29th, they are 3-7 at Search and Destroy. Okay. So, not great at all. And then I just want to talk about like the FaZe Falcon series. This one's not going to be that long, but you just never know what kind of FaZe you're going to get. And you know, I was even saying off stream, I don't know why I didn't say this on stream, but I was like saying off stream, I'm like, they're like so inconsistent and they're so bad. Like just watch them go beat freaking Falcons like easy as fuck on Friday. And then they go in 3-0. And you never know what version of the Falcons you're going to get. And you never know what version of FaZe you're going to get. FaZe beat them 250-166 on Gridlock Hardpoint, 6-1 on Gridlock Search, and 7-0 Gridlock Overload. And it looks like FaZe is adding Gridlock Overload to their game, which will be great if we're going against OpTic, who's going to ban it. So if they're playing OpTic and Overload, they're guaranteed a Den or a Scar, because OpTic's going to ban Gridlock and FaZe is going to ban Exposure. So you're just always going to play him on Scar or Den, so that's good for FaZe. But I think against LAT might square up on them on this map, maybe, because LAT's not going to play Exposure, which means FaZe doesn't have to ban that, which means FaZe could ban Den, and then LAT probably ban like Exposure, and then they probably get a Gridlock square up, honestly, if they play each other, because now FaZe seems to be adding that map pool. They now 7-0 2 teams back-to-back, Miami and Falcons on that map, which is pretty impressive. FaZe looks like they're not playing stock S&D either, which is, I'm not going to say interesting, but you know, it is interesting because LAT is very good at that map, and now you got a ban on them, which was probably going to play him on Den again. You know, probably going to play him on some Dens, probably going to play him on some Raids. But I just want to talk about that match real quick because FaZe is very inconsistent. But yeah, guys, after the break, we are going to be doing the Major 4 bracket prediction. Who is going to take the last major championship before the Call of Duty World Championship in Europe, in Paris? We'll find out after our short break here on the Borito Talk podcast. See you in a bit.
President Rojas University War was an experience. Let's just say that. Bro, this guy is fucking comedy. Chat, I was in this guy's.
Let's go for some more kills. Like,
bro, I was in this guy's chat one night, guys. I was literally talking to this guy in his chat. He had like 3 viewers. I was talking to him. This guy's literally hilarious.
Nah, it's crazy.
I'm gonna get 3 viewers. I'm gonna get this guy on a flank. I'm gonna get this guy Borito. I'm gonna get this guy on a flank, chat. I'm gonna get this guy on there.
Yeah,
Where the fuck are you? Yo, this guy didn't even say on YouTube, bro. I'd like fucking 30 on YouTube. Come on, man.
What are you? Oh my god.
I'd fuck 30 on YouTube, man.
this
Come
guy's
on.
good.
He's not even trying to hit
Come on, man.
the
Let's leave
hill,
the three
bro.
part out. Let's leave the
He's
three part
not
out.
even trying. Bro, he's...
Yeah, I'm literally firing Benjay and hiring this guy, bro. Yeah, I'm literally firing Benjay and hiring this
right
guy. Yeah, I'm
here.
not even trolling.
He's right here.
This guy's literally
No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm
This
good.
guy, I've seen some of this guy's clips. This guy knows ball. I'm not even trolling, bro. I've literally seen this guy's clips. This guy literally knows ball.
Mid. Okay, let's fucking go claps on the hill. Nah, I'm gonna play for
Benjay, you fired.
Look where you're
I'm
going,
fired.
bro.
I found a
Where are you
replacement.
going, brother?
Yeah, who's my
They're
replacement?
soaking
Burrito.
the hill. This guy is
Burrito's the goat, actually. Burrito is the goat, though. I will say.
Burrito, bro.
Oh my
Burrito
God.
is the goat.
This is actually insane.
Burrito, bro.
Listen, if people, I'm putting you guys in chat. If you have not watched Burrito's content and you love CDL content, go follow him, bro. W content.
That's insane.
He's
Wow, that's a
actually
shout
Burrito's
out.
W
That
content. This guy
that's-
should be bigger than he is, bro. His content's great.
that's a fucking shout out and a half, hey? That's a shout out and a half.
Let's do this shit.
I watch it all the time. Elusive. I know that guy. He's in my Discord.
All right, guys, welcome back on this episode of the Borito Talk podcast. We are going to get into the Major 4 Paris bracket prediction. I was going to say another word, but I forgot. So the first two matches on Friday. There's going to be an Alpha and a Bravo on Friday only, and then Saturday and Sunday are just going to be the one stream. Games start at 5 a.m. Pacific, which is actually great. It's bad that you got to wake up early, but I don't care. I have the whole week off. It's great for me. The great thing is, if it starts at 6 a.m., the stream's going to be over by like 1 p.m. And then you got the whole day ahead of you to like recap or just go outside or something and go do something. Yeah, so that's great. But there's an Alpha and a Bravo for Friday, and the first match on Alpha is OpTic against Boston, and then Bravo, it's G2 against Falcons on at the exact same time. I wonder which match we're gonna watch. I actually may not watch the OpTic Breach match because that one may be one-sided, but I do think there is a chance for an upset just because of how OpTic's been playing. And I know there's probably going to be some voodoo at this event. So there could be a chance for an upset. Afro's on an uptrend. He's in EU. I don't think OpTic really wants Paris to win. I'd be surprised if the French fans are cheering for OpTic, even though I know OpTic has fans everywhere. But I'd be surprised, honestly. Especially with the whole Paris OpTic, you know, like sort of beef, I guess there was. I would be surprised if there was... I'd be surprised, actually, just if, like, the French fans didn't want OpTic to lose. I don't know if that's just me. But we're going to go through it. So I'm going to just put Thieves through because Royal Ravens right now, they got Nox. I don't know why I'm actually cutting that. Whoops. Royal Ravens are playing with Nox right now because Standy had to go on the bench due to personal reasons, and it's not looking good. You know, Nox is just not ready for the league. I didn't go through that match, but man, he just got a warm welcome to this CDL. He knows it's not challengers now. He knows it's not challengers. And he just got a warm welcome to the professional league and how to actually play in that play style, being able to sprint around and not have objective responsibility. Now realizing you can't really do that, especially when you're playing teams like FaZe and everything. So Carolina's going to go down and they're going to face Miami, which they actually could end up beating, but I just don't think Miami would. But Miami lost to Vancouver. That's the thing. Miami lost to Vancouver. So the next match I'll do is Paris. Actually, I kind of want to go in order just because like the first two matches already announced. G2 Falcons. G2 Falcons. So if we pull up their last match, which they just played, we're going to pull this up because G2 should have won that game. They should have won. Shoulda, coulda, woulda, though. So they played Colossus. Falcons beat them pretty handedly. Gridlock, S&D, G2 won. They're probably not going to play them on Exposure Overload anymore. I'd be surprised if they did that. Gridlock, Hardpoint, G2 won, and they lost the Den. And let's take a look at the map vetoes. So Falcons banned Scar. G2 banned Sake. I don't even know why. Falcons is not even that great at that map. Okay, something else I gotta say. G2 also need a new coach in the offseason because Looney has had some pretty good rosters. He's had a lot of different players he played with, and he has virtually found no success except for but I don't even think he was the coach at the time. He was not the coach at the time. I think it was Brian Saint when Standy came in and he just hard carried them to like a major championship. But Looney specifically, his time in the CDL and his record and his track record is not good. And I think someone should take that spot. I'm not sure if it's Rambo, derail someone. Someone got to take that spot off him. He is not cutting it as a coach. I don't see any positive strides, especially with a team like this. Like, there's no way we're breaking at S&D. There's no way. Also, when they played Falcons, by the way, or I mean, when they played Koi, let's take a look at G2 for a sec. When they played Koi, okay, I forgot to point this out because I was like thinking about other stuff. I was thinking about the S&D chokes. They were up like 190 to 95. On the Den hard point, and they lost 250 to 239. They were up 100 points, and they lost. There wouldn't even have been a map number 5. In Scar, I think they're up like 2-0 with like 3 minutes left, or 2.5 minutes left. They lost 4-3. So, there you go. And it's not even against a good team, too. It's against another team that made multiple changes as well. And you can't beat them. So you can't even use, like we're a new team. I saw Parasite try to do that on like the flank, saying this G2 team's a new team. No, that's not an excuse anymore. We're at the end of the year. You pick your roster. There's no such thing as, it's a new team, they need time, bro. No. Like, that should have nothing to do with a choke. Like, knowing how to play when you're up in hardpoint. That doesn't need chemistry, okay? It just needs common sense and knowing how to play. And just basic fundamentals that the team has to follow, and they didn't have those in place. I'm blaming the coaches, I'm blaming the players for that. But they definitely need a new coach in the offseason. I'm being 100% serious about that. And the S&D G2 banned Sake, so they double banned Sake. I don't know why they're banning Sake. I could guess Sake S&D against Falcons, but Sake hardpoint Falcons not that good at. I don't know why they don't have that in the bag. And Falcons was the one that picked Colossus. G2 picked Gridlock, probably because it's a map that doesn't really require much thinking. So, yeah. And then Falcons banned Hacienda S&D, sure. And then Falcons picked Den S&D. G2 double pick Gridlock, which just shows you how bad of a team they are. Because if you double pick Gridlock, it means you don't really have much going on every other map. Because Gridlock S&D is so one-dimensional and so brain-dead. And then Gridlock hardpoint, the easiest hardpoint map to play, where P2 and P3 are essentially just like watching small doorways, and P1's pretty straightforward, like probably the babyest map to play. So they double pick Gridlock, which means that's a team that doesn't have that much confidence, if you ask me. And then they somehow picked Exposure Overload. So probably the Exposure Overload's probably going to change, and they may change to the Colossus. I don't think Falcons is going to even pick Sake. Like, they'll probably pick Den Hardpoint. Like, there's no way Falcons would even pick Sake Hardpoint, even if it was available. They'd definitely pick another map before that. So I don't even know why G2 felt the need to ban it. And I think if you just change those two maps, G2 should win. So, although G2 choked and I was kind of like annoyed about it, I feel like they're going to win. And Kremp's been playing very good online. He played good online last time. I don't know if it'll replicate, to be honest, but and if you're wondering what that sound is, that's my laundry just flip-flapping like the blankets around. It's actually crazy how that sounds. So G2 is going to go through. And then we're going to do Paris against FaZe. Paris against FaZe. The hometown heroes against FaZe. The brand new Paris Gentlemates with 5 players on the roster. Can't believe they just have Neptune just sitting on the roster. He's not doing anything. He's not going to be able to compete at champs, which is insane. He just got second last year, and he's not going to be able to compete. Do you know how insane that is, actually? When you actually think about it? Do you know how insane that actually is? You just went to a grand final last year, Call of Duty champs. You don't even have a chance to compete the following year. Do you know how insane that is? So FaZe banned Dan Hardpoint against Paris, which I guess makes sense, I guess, because Joe's pretty good at that map. And I don't know why FaZe can't play Dan. I don't know. They're hopeless. I'm not going to lie. And Paris banned Hacienda, which I guess is smart because FaZe is pretty good at that map. So I would see those two bans probably happening again. Paris did pick Colossus, and they barely lost it, so I wouldn't be surprised if they picked it again. And FaZe picked Scar, which they still lost. And I mean, if they had to pick another map, so I do have my notes open. And they banned Dan, they banned Hossie. So between Sake, Scar, Gridlock, and FaZe is not picking Sake these days. They're not picking Sake. So they actually might pick Gridlock at the major. I would not be surprised if that happened. I think they're trying Scar, but they might pick Gridlock. So it might be a Colossus Gridlock for Hardpoint. And then I see him banning Sake S&D again, honestly. Even though Paris not that good at that map, they would still ban it anyway. Just take their chances. Paris not playing Ray, that makes a lot of sense. FaZe pick Hase, they lost it 6-0. Wouldn't even be surprised if they pick it again. But if you look at the alternatives anyway, Fringe is an alternative. Raid's not going to be an alternative, obviously. So it's between Fringe and Gridlock. Fringe, Gridlock, and Den. And Paris picked Den, which means FaZe might opt for Gridlock. Honestly, they might do a double Gridlock. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a triple Gridlock. And Paris banned Exposure Overload. FaZe picked Scar, and FaZe did win Scar, but I wouldn't be surprised if FaZe will run Gridlock at the major, seeing as Paris didn't really practice that match. I think just the map set overall, even though FaZe barely won this, I know everyone was saying Paris should have won this game 5-0, etc., etc., but I think FaZe just has a stronger map pool. I don't even think the hometown cheese even matters, honestly. I don't think that even matters. And this Paris team is like not that good at S&D. I have no faith in their S&D. I'm not going to lie, especially when they're going against the better teams. And FaZe does generally look a little bit better at LAN, honestly. And they've had some time to recoup from, like personal issues and stuff that's been happening. So I could definitely see FaZe taking it, and they just have a way better map pool. And then we're going to get to OpTic against Breach. And I was going to just automatically put OpTic through, but I think we should do a little bit of research on this real quick, because there's a small chance for an upset, okay? There is actually a really big chance for an upset. And the last time they played each other was Major 3 qualifiers, May 1st. Pretty much 2 months ago was the last time OpTic played. OpTic played Boston, and they beat them 3-1 at 250 to 123 on Den Hardpoint, 6-3 Plaza for OpTic, up 2-0, and then Boston won 3-2 Den, and then they won 250 to 227 Sake, and Purge, and Boston could have won that, and that was with Afro and Nasty, and now they got Afro, Purge, Spart, and TJ. I'm thinking this could be a little bit different, so I'm just going to pull up the game that they played against Paris and take a look at Boston's map veto. So Boston banned Colossus, Boston banned Gridlock S&D, and then they banned Exposure Overload. I could see them banning Exposure Overload against OpTic. So let's take a look at a match they played against another team, specifically the top teams, and they played a lot of top teams. So they also played LAT, and they banned Colossus again. They banned Sake, but that was because LAT is really good at it, and LAT banned Exposure Overload, which means Boston picked Gridlock and Boston won Gridlock. Very, very interesting. And how do the map vetoes work again? Like Team A and Team B. I forgot. Okay, here, let me see. That's the one thing I should know. I'm the number one for CDL. I know, so I should know this stuff. So Koi picked Team B here, which means Boston gets the Overload ban and they get a pick it, and then okay, and then map number 3. Who picked map number 3? Map number 3 was a Koi pick, and then map number 5 was a Boston pick, but Boston gets the ban. Okay, so Boston gets the Overload ban. Interesting. So it's pretty much almost the exact same thing in best of 5s. And then we're going to pull up one more match from Boston against Koi just to get a general. It seems very clear they don't like playing Colossus. I don't know why. I guess they just aren't. I mean, I can't even say I don't know why. They're just not good at a lot of maps. So they banned Colossus again. They banned Fringe. Very interesting. I think they just ban, like, depending on the team that they play, honestly. I think they just ban depending on that. So, in their match against OpTic, if we have the maps in front of us, which we do, I could see Boston banning Colossus, because OpTic's actually pretty good at that map. I could see OpTic, if you're playing Boston, last time they played Boston, they pretty much should have lost the Sake hardpoint. They pretty much should have lost that. Pretty much should have lost that. But if you're Boston, you're playing at OpTic, and now you realize they're also a good Hacienda team as well. So would you play them on Colossus or would you play them on Hasi? That's the question. And Boston, if we're looking at their matches, they haven't really played Hasi. Probably because they didn't even think they're going to run into OpTic, to be honest. They probably didn't even think they're going to run into OpTic. But you're pretty much playing them on Hasi or Colossus, which is both the maps you don't want to play. If you're Boston, what would your poison be? If I had to pick, I would just not play them on Hasi. They might run your world at that map. It might absolutely run your world. If I were you, I would just take my chances on Colossus. Anything could happen on Colossus, honestly. But not everything could happen on Hacienda. That map's pretty straightforward. Like, they could beat to bop you, and you're pretty much cooked. So if I had to take a guess, Boston's going to ban Hacienda. OpTic would probably... OpTic... The thing is, would OpTic give them Gridlock? Because Gridlock is like a noob evener. Gridlock is a noob evener, and OpTic, I don't think, wants to give any team a noob evener map. And I pretty much know what OpTic's bans are, but I don't know if against a bottom team they would give them that map, or if they would just ban the map they're bad at. OpTic seems like the type of team that would more play a map they're good at and know they could beat a team compared to just banning what another team's freaking good at. I don't think they care what another team's good at. I think they just care if they're good at it. And on May 17th, they beat Koi on Gridlock pretty handily, but that was a long time ago. I don't even know why I opened that one. Let's take a look at Carolina. So they tried Sake. They've been playing Sake more, which means they just might play Sake. They might play Sake because they beat Carolina on it. I think they were trying to play it earlier too, but their Colossus has been slacking, which is why Boston might actually allow that through. But I think OpTic might just think we're playing Boston. Like, we shouldn't be scared of them on that map, honestly. We really shouldn't be scared of them on that map. So if I'm guessing for OpTic, OpTic may just ban Sake. And then we'll probably get a... If I'm Boston, what the hell am I picking? If you don't have Hasi, you don't have Sake, they're kind of screwed. I mean, they're not going to pick Colossus. They're not going to pick Colossus. They're going to pick Dead, Gridlock, or Scar. They would probably pick Gridlock. That's a noob evener. Which is why if I'm OpTic, I would honestly ban Gridlock and play Sake. If I'm OpTic, I'd ban Gridlock and pick Sake. So that one might change. But Boston is going to get Gridlock. OpTic does have like the main seed, so I will get to the overload ban and sort of organize it. So OpTic, if they had to, OpTic probably pick Scar. Boston's kind of screwed when it comes to the hardpoint pick, because you either have to play them on Scar, Hasi, or Colossus. I mean, you're probably going to get the hands at either three. So Gridlock, Scar, Colossus, or I mean, Scar, Colossus, Hasi, take your pick. You know, take your pick. Probably play them on Scar. It's pretty much a guarantee for OpTic, I'd have to say. Maybe not so much of a guarantee anymore. Maybe they might have lost some confidence on that map, but I mean, like, you are playing Boston, you should kind of like slam them. It's on land too. And Shotzi talks about how confident he is in his team all the time. Then when it comes to S&D, OpTic's the best S&D right now. I mean, you would probably say Hasi, and Boston does like the ban according to what the other team's good at. I wouldn't be surprised if they just ban Hasi, you know. Just ban Hasi again, so I'll put Hacienda. And then OpTic will probably ban Sake, because they don't like playing that map. And then a Boston. And then I think OpTic might pick Raid. OpTic might pick Raid. So we might get a Raid. And then it's between Gridlock, Den, and Fringe. I think Boston might pick Fringe because OpTic's been slacking on that map. OpTic may actually ban for Fringe, but then you have to play Sake. You have to play either or, so they're kind of screwed there. And then Overload, I think OpTic would much rather take... Would OpTic take the ban or the map pick when it comes to playing them? Would they rather get the 2-3? I think they'd rather get the 2-3-5 because I don't even think they're scared of what Boston's hardpoint pick could be because they'll probably beat them on it anyway. But if they have a 2-3-4 pick, I mean, I think they pretty much would take that knowing that they're going to win map number 1 regardless if they had a pick. So they'd probably pick Team B, which means Boston would get the Overload ban and Boston would probably ban Exposure. And OpTic would probably pick not Gridlock between Scar and Den. I mean, I would pick Scar, but they might pick Scar because Boston beat them on Den. So if we organize these maps in order, if Boston got 2-3-5, it would be Gridlock, and then OpTic would get Raid, and then map number 3 would be OpTic's pick as well, which would be Scar, and then map number 4 would be Scar, so a double Scar, and then map number 5 Fringe. So if it's a Gridlock, Raid, Scar, Fringe, anything could happen on Gridlock Hardpoint. Take that into account. Anything could happen on Gridlock Hardpoint. Anything could happen on Gridlock Hardpoint. So OpTic could very well win that map. They could very well lose that map. They could beat them on Raid. They could very well lose the Raid. Scar Overload, I'd probably take OpTic, guaranteed. Scar Hardpoint, I'd take OpTic for sure. If it somehow got to a map number 5, but it means Boston would have to win 2 of those maps in between, which would probably be the first 2. They may be able to get a Scar Hardpoint win. I could definitely see that happening. And, you know, it's just tough. Because OpTic could choke, okay? OpTic could very well choke. I think you guys are undermining how interesting this game could actually be. And I don't know what version of the Paris fans we're going to see in this game. I don't think that'll affect OpTic either way. Boston has sort of been on an uptrend. Sort of. I can't even say all the way. But Boston did have a good time. Sort of. They got smacked by Paris, obviously. They beat Koi. They lost 3-2 to LAT. Then they played Cloud9, Vancouver Surge. 2 easy games. Nah, I got OpTic. I mean, I think OpTic's just too good. But I would not be surprised if there's an upset there. Okay, I would not be surprised if there's an upset there. I kind of just want to put it just on some hater shit. I'm not going to lie, and I forgot to put Paris. I got to put Paris in their match against poor Cloud9. Poor Cloud9, man. I mean, I should just copy and paste them twice because... I should just copy and paste them twice because Paris is going to win that, but I'll talk about that in a bit. OpTic could lose, bro. And OpTic's been a little bit shaky now. They've been a little bit shaky. And Boston is an S&D team. And Boston's a team that doesn't really have anything to lose, which is probably the scariest team to play against. A team that has literally nothing left to lose except just play for an upset. That's really annoying. I'm not going to lie. That could be really, really, really annoying. And G2 did beat them. G2 beat them at Colossus. G2 beat them at Hossie S&D. You know, G2 beat them on Gridlock S&D. You know, they've been losing some games. And they're tweaking right now. And even against Carolina. Carolina probably had the worst team ever. And Carolina still beat them at freaking Den Overload, Raid S&D, and Den S&D. And Boston's a little bit better of an S&D team. But, you know, I just don't know what version of Purge I'll ever get. I will just never know. I'll just never know. And even against Koi, they probably should have lost that. You know? It's very interesting. So let's take a look real quick. Last time they played Boston, a long time ago. So that is pretty much down. Holy cow. No way it's that far. Okay, it was the Major 3 qualifiers. Let's see what Purge was like averaging that game. Purge actually went positive, which means he actually plays against OpTic very well. Oh, guys. That's the first match of the day, too. I mean, like, damn, man. You know what, guys? I'm just feeling it in my bones. You know, I might be a hater. I may be a hater here, guys. I may be a I may be a hater. This bracket's gonna look terrible, by the way. This bracket's gonna look horrible, by the way. I will say that. This bracket's gonna look terrible. Absolutely terrible. But you know what? I have... God, should I do it? Boston. Boston beating OpTic. So let me take a look at the map set one more time. Let me take a look at the map set. Gridlock, Raid, Scar, Fringe. And OpTic's not even guaranteed to pick Scar Overload. They could very well be stubborn and pick Den Overload, thinking we should just warm up on this map on land just to get ready for LAT, and then they F around, they lose to Boston on that map. It could very well happen. If it goes to Fringe S&D, I just, you know, OpTic could lose that map. I'm going to go with the Boston upset, you know? I'm going to go with the Boston upset. I just feel it. I just feel it. Boston upsetting OpTic, going against G2, a pay-per-view match we've all been dying to see. Yeah. I don't know about that one. And that would move OpTic down to a match against Toronto Koi, which could actually be there. If I'm Koi, this is the last team I want to see, brother. This is the last team I want to see down there. OpTic against Koi loses round 1. It doesn't even look right. It doesn't even look right. FaZe at these at the top of the bracket licking their lips if this happens. Let me tell you, licking their lips. Licking their lips. Oh, wait, I actually screwed up. OpTic would be playing Vancouver Surge, duh. Playing Vancouver Surge. I put him in the wrong spot. That's my bad. Koi lucked out temporarily. And I might as well just put OpTic through, okay? OpTic's not losing to Vancouver. I just, you know, regardless of how bad OpTic's playing, it's, I mean, like, they got freaking gooners on that team. I don't know, man. I don't know about that one. So it would be Falcons down against Toronto Koi, which is a very interesting matchup. I'm not going to lie. Very interesting matchup there. Koi against Falcons. So I'll put that one down. Huh. And I actually put OpTic in the wrong spot, but I could actually fix that. OpTic should be on the bottom side of this losers round 2, which means they'll face the winner of Koi Falcons, which is a very, 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 very good game. Very, very, very good game there. So OpTic loses round 2. Just give them the auto match against that team. So we're going to do some losers matches first. Falcons against Koi. I kind of just want to pick Falcons, to be honest. Falcons is a very gritty team, especially in the loser bracket. They're a very gritty team, and they haven't played Koi in a minute. They haven't played Koi since Major 3 qualifiers. April 18th was the last time they played Koi. That is a long time ago. And they lost 3-1. Granted, that's a team with Joe. Not going to lie. 250 to 183. Koi on Den. HP, a 6-2 Plaza S&D. A 4-3 exposure overload win for Falcons, of course. And then a 250 to 179 Sake hardpoint win. And Jodeci's had 106 kills in the series. I mean, that's just not happening again. You know, I'm just going to speed this up. I'm going to put the Falcons to go through. So we're going to get another Falcons OpTic match. Okay, we're getting another Falcons OpTic match in the losers round 2. So I'm going to put Falcons there. And I'm going to come to that one in a second. Carolina against Miami. I'm not even going to waste map vetoes on this map. You know, it's not worth it. But Ravens just has 2 anchors on the team, I believe. And I can't even believe I'm saying this because I vouch for them so hard. Fire and Exceed. I mean, had high hopes for you guys, man. I'm not going to lie. I had high hopes for you guys. But the pace you guys are playing at is borderline unacceptable. And although Herectics is a very compromised team, I just can't see Herectics losing to this level of just atrocity on the team. But it's Nox, and he's on land, but he doesn't speak English. And, you know, the comms on Carolina are just not that good. So it's like, I just can't even see them. I don't even know a world where they win that. You know, I just don't think it's on their side. And I could actually speed this up as well. And I'm going to put Paris to go through. over Miami because Joe is just going to like take over. I just don't see Miami winning that game. So I'm going to put Paris through to losers round 3. Slowly making a losers bracket run, trying to get to that championship Sunday is Paris. And I'm just also going to do this match down here. I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off for you guys. I think Falcons is going to beat OpTic if they play him again at this major. I think Falcons at the last major, because OpTic's in a very vulnerable state. Their S&D is looking even worse. Falcons, I think, actually has an edge in overload. And the hard point, now that OpTic is regressing, is now coming a little bit more even. So I think Falcons is going to beat OpTic, Texas, and OpTic is going to go out in losers round 2 at the final major of the year before champs, which is not a good look for OpTic, as Falcons is going to go through to losers round 3 with the Gentlemates. As we now go to the top side of the bracket, I've been avoiding doing this map because it does not look intriguing at all, but it's going to be G2 against Boston. And let's see the last time these guys played each other. I mean, I don't even know when this was. It was a minor 2 tournament, so it wasn't that far away. And G2 beat them 3-1. It was a 250-180 Hacienda win for Boston, a 6-5 Hasi S&D win for G2, a 4-1 gridlock, and a 250-193 gridlock win for G2. Take a look at the map vetoes for this one. G2 is a double banning Sake, or I mean, they didn't ban Sake this time because Boston actually banned it for them. G2 then banned Raid. Boston picked Hasi S&D. And G2 picked Fringe S&D, which it didn't get to. G2 banned Overload, Scar, and Boston picked Gridlock, which they lost to G2. So very interesting map vetoes. I think it all comes down to the hard points. And G2 lost Husky to Boston, which is pretty insane to even look at. Skies went 57-76 in this series, had a 0.75 against Boston. Purge went positive in this series, which is a negative. If you're any team going up against Purge and you allow them to go positive, that's kind of a sign of self-reflection. But Boston at this point theoretically would be coming off a win against OpTic Texas, but G2 coming off on a win against Falcons, probably thinking very confident we're good enough to make it past Breach and make it to a freaking winners final. I can't even imagine Breach being in that final. I can't even imagine. I'm gonna put G2 through. I'm not gonna lie. G2, so from the match, I'm not gonna lie, I can't even believe I have a G2 in a fucking winners final, by the way. If OpTic even meets them, if OpTic beats Breach, which I mean they actually may as well probably will, I mean G2's not sniffing that winners final. Like, they're gonna be dropping right into a Falcons or like a Falcons or a Breach? Wait, what? Who did they face? They're probably facing like a Koi or a Falcons. A Koi or a Falcons, like they're going to lose anyway, probably. I just don't see Breach making a top 3. I can't even see TJ making the top 3, but I can see G2 making the top 3. And Kremp actually deserves it. Kremp deserves it, but it's not really going to matter. But we're going to get to FaZe against LAT, probably the best match of this tournament so far. And the map set's going to look a little bit different this time. I'm actually going to pull out the map set for this, the notepad for this, as I take a sip of my water. Map veto's looking a little bit different these days. FaZe been working on some maps. LAT been working on some weak maps as well. It's going to be pretty interesting. Let's take a look at the last time FaZe and LAT played each other, which was Major 4 qualifier, Minor 2 tournament. They played each other Minor 2 tournament. Let's look at that one, because it was 7 days after the other one. It was Hacienda, Sake, Scar, Sake, Hacienda. And LAT won 250-244 on that Hasi hardpoint, which they should have never won. 6-0 Sake Search, LAT, and a 3-2 Scar Overload for LAT. The map bans FaZe banned Den, LAT banned Scar. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing again, see another Hasi. Maybe LAT probably thinks they're confident on it now because he beat him. LAT picked Sake, hardpoint, which he didn't even get to. FaZe not playing freaking Den may just like cost them. I don't know. They'd probably have a better chance on Den against LAT than Sake. I just like don't even see why they'd even try playing that. There's no way their Den is that bad that they can't play it against LAT. I just don't understand. And then LAT would also ban Raid S&D. FaZe is going to ban Den. Makes a lot of sense. LAT picks Sake. and FaZe pick Hacienda, but I could see that changing. FaZe used to ban Gridlock, but now they probably might pick it, and LAT picks Scar Overload. And since LAT is the higher seed, they're definitely going to pick Team B, so we're going to use that to our discretion as we do the map set. And I can see LAT banning Scar Hardpoint again. And then FaZe might just ban fucking Den again. I mean, I don't even see why. I don't know why they wouldn't ban Sake. Like, if I'm FaZe, I'm banning Sake. So I would put Sake, but they might just ban Den, because I guess they just don't want to play Den anymore. I just don't know why. Okay, I don't like that. They should be banning Sake. Okay, if I was FaZe, I'd ban Sake, but I'm just gonna put with what I think they're gonna do, because they just freaking did it, and it wasn't that long ago. And they have been banning against other teams as well, which means they clearly don't feel confident on that map for some reason. I think the S&D bans are gonna change. I think FaZe is gonna ban Sake this time, and I would not be surprised if LAT bans Raid again. So we're gonna do another Raid Sake ban, and then Overload. Since FaZe would have the ban, if I'm FaZe, they're probably not going to ban Den. I know they're not going to ban Den. And they're not going to ban Gridlock either. So I think they might ban Scar. But I think FaZe is actually confident enough to play LAT on every single map. Even Den, I think FaZe will play them on. Which is actually the most interesting part about this. They would play them on either map. And FaZe probably thinking they maybe should have won the Scar Overload. Who knows? But would you play them on Scar? Would you play them on Den? That's pretty much what you're going to decide. There could be a Gridlock in here. Honestly, there very well could be. But if I'm FaZe, I mean, I would ban Scar and leave a Den. But they did also, I mean, FaZe have put them so many times. If I'm FaZe, I'll play them on Den, honestly. I'd test my luck on Den, because FaZe is not a bad Den Overload team if they're playing against, like, the right team. And I think they may think they could probably beat them on that map. And they're fine playing Exposure, so they're not even going to ban it. And LAT's never going to pick it. So it'd just be between Gridlock, Scar, and Den. So if they ban one of these maps, which map would they pick? So if they ban Scar, these is definitely going to pick Den. But if FaZe bans Den, there's a chance LAT could pick Gridlock. And do they want to try to unlock that is the question. So I would probably ban Den if I were FaZe, and leave the decision open to them. Do you want to play Scar, or do you want to play Gridlock? They're probably going to pick Scar, to be honest, because FaZe have been 7-0 teams at Gridlock. So I think either way, it's going to be a Scar or a Den in this series. It's just a matter of which one you want to play. If you're FaZe, probably just put him into a Scar, to be honest, because LAT's been looking pretty hot at that. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see another Hossie, because FaZe probably going to pick it. LAT somehow going to let that through because they don't want to pick Scar for some reason. I don't know why. They want to pick Scar. I don't know why. Okay, don't know why. And so, what's the other hardpoint map that they played? Oh, God. It was a Sake. Okay, FaZe should be banning that. But they're not going to. So, probably get a Hossie Sake again. I think the S&Ds are probably going to change because now they're going to ban Sake. So, now it's going to leave a Den open for Thieves to pick. And then, if I'm FaZe, you could play him at so many maps. If I'm FaZe, you could play him at so many maps. If Raid and Sake are gone, you have Hossie, you got Gridlock, you got Den, you got Fringe. And they're going to pick Den. You're probably not going to play him on Hossie again. You may try your luck at Gridlock, but these are also good at that. I would play him on Fringe. Honestly, I would try Fringe. I don't know if they're going to do that. I'm kind of just freaking actually guessing for them. So the map set would be, if FaZe is Team A, it would be Hossie, and then it would be Thieves pick Den, and then it would be Scar, and then it would be Sake, and then it would be Fringe. If I'm FaZe, they might pick Gridlock, honestly. Like, they might try Gridlock. I don't know. But I wouldn't want to play Thieves on, like, a map like this, where it's, like, a little bit newbie, and it's a little bit, like, closer together, and it kind of takes, like, the skill out of it. I think if I'm FaZe, I want to test, like, their gangster on a map that has more space and makes them think a lot more. And if Sake and Raid are gone, Hossie would be the map for that, but you just got 6-0 on that map. So do you play it again? Probably not. You probably pick Fringe. It's a map they got to think on a little bit more. FaZe probably has some in their bag for Fringe. They're actually pretty good at that map. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't also be surprised if FaZe just plays them on the same shit again. You know? You never know what version of FaZe you're going to get. But a Hossie, a Den, a Scar, a Sake, and a Fringe. I don't like the Sake hardpoint. I would rather play Den, but they're just probably not going to do that. Honestly, they really should. Like, if FaZe plays Den rather than Sake, this map set is perfect for them. They could beat them on Dennis and D. They could beat them on Scar Overload. Like, FaZe is the only team, and I've said this, and I tweeted it. So I'm going to pull up the tweet that I said, because, you know, I tweet, and I say things. So I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to pull it up right here. So I said, OpTic fluked their way into the easiest route to the winners final. If FaZe beats Gentlemates in winners round 1, I do believe they are the only team that can beat LA Thieves this weekend. I know everyone uses recency bias to form every opinion they have, but from what I've been watching of their games throughout the year, there's a weird matchup there that regardless of Thieves' deeper map pool, FaZe counters them well. If they knock LAT down to losers, that would be the best thing in the world for OpTic. If OpTic actually makes it that far, if they don't get upset by Boston Breach, which they very well could. But I personally think FaZe is the only team that can play LA Thieves. And FaZe, you just never know what FaZe you're ever going to get. They're the most inconsistent team next to the Falcons. Honestly, I don't even count everyone else because everyone else is like so far beneath what their expectations actually are. It's kind of just like everyone just like ass over there. But I think FaZe is the only team that can match up against Thieves. We've seen it. Thieves had a very good record. They're like 3-1 against them, and then they just went on a downtrend, and Thieves were able to win 2 in a row. But I don't even think that 3-0 really tells the whole story. FaZe was up like 100 in the Hossie hardpoint, and they just trolled. You know, they just trolled. That's not going to happen all the time, but it does happen, you know, and it happened. And that's the reason why it changed it to the 6-0 Sake S&D, and then like the other map, they kind of just rolled over and gave up after. But I think FaZe plays LAT very well, and I have FaZe winning this game if FaZe makes it there. If FaZe makes it there, I do believe they're going to beat LAT, and they're going to beat them. Okay, I actually just said that twice. I was going to say and beat them very handedly, but I don't know if it's going to be handedly. But the map set, like, look, Hossie, Den, Scar, Sake, Fringe. Like, LAT just got, like, the Sake, but I don't even know about that map. And the Scar is like very much 50-50, but FaZe always has somewhat of an upper hand against Thieves when it comes to Overload. And the S&Ds, LAT plays S&D very well, but I think FaZe has been on a downtrend for S&D, but they're a team where it's like they look like they're on a downtrend. All of a sudden, they play a certain team, and then all of a sudden, like, they're just fucking good again. If I'm LAT, I'm trying not to get Hossie in there. I would much rather play him Scar that first map than Hossie. If that changes to a Scar, I mean, we're looking at a different series. I think that Hossie is very important because the map number 1 is always very important when it comes to FaZe. And I know there was the last major where they lost map number 1, get come back on, and they still won the series. I can very much see that happening again. A FaZe G2 freaking winners final doesn't even look right, but you know, last major of the year is where all this crazy stuff happens to happen, and we're gonna put Thieves down in the losers, which a lot of people aren't gonna expect, because you know everyone just like thinks whatever. And Thieves is gonna go down and play the Falcons. They're gonna go down and play the Falcons. And I mean, I might as well just put him through because I think Thieves is going to beat the Falcons pretty handily. I think the hard points. Actually, hold on. I might have to come back to that. Hold on. I might have to come back to that. Okay, I might have to come back to that. And G2 beats Breach, which means Breach is going to go down here. Breach is going to go down. Breach in the freaking losers round 3. Can you imagine? Breach in the loses round 3, falling to face Paris Gentlemates, which, I mean, I'd bet a lot on this match, but I think Paris is going to win this, and Paris is going to make it a championship Sunday somehow. Somehow, some way they're going to make it at their home major, which is exactly what you kind of want to see. You kind of want to see them at a championship Sunday on their home major. A little bit crazy. Probably bring out like a different color. Probably have like a purple jersey, something. I don't know. But let's go through this Falcons Thieves series real quick, because this one could be very interesting. Because I know everyone just thinks LAT is the best team. This, like the recency bias that comes in. Oh, they're the best team. Just throw them through. And I know you could get a version of Falcons that just rolls over and dies. You very well could get that version. And the last time they played them, they 3-0'd them as a 250-221 Sake, a 6-3 Dennis and D, and a 5-4 Scar Overload. Pretty much a beatdown Pretty much a beatdown. And but this was May 16th. This is a long time ago. Okay, so a long time ago. We got a different team now. We got different map vetoes now. We had Plaza back then. We don't Plaza anymore. They're banning Scar and Plaza. We don't even have those anymore. We got people picking Fringe and shit. I mean, we just got a bunch of different maps. So I'm gonna guess the map vetoes for the Falcones, as you know, Zuma calls them here. So I'm gonna just take one map against like FaZe. Take one map against FaZe, against a good team, and see. You know, they got some Scar hardpoint bands in there. They got some Hacienda bands in there. Okay, pretty much could draw my opinion off of that. So if I'm Falcons, you're definitely just gonna ban LET's best maps. So you're probably not gonna ban Hasi, but you're gonna ban Sake. And then if I'm Thieves, what would be their best map? You would say Colossus. You could say Den. Probably ban Gridlock, honestly. Just not play him on anything newbie. And you could ban Scar, but Falcons also doesn't play Scar as well. If you're Thieves, I mean, I'd ban Gridlock, honestly. I'd ban Gridlock. I wouldn't even touch him on that map. And then for S&D, if you're Falcons, you probably ban Sake. And if you're Thieves, you probably ban like Raid, maybe. Probably ban Raid because they're pretty good at that map. You could play him on Den, you could play him on Fringe, you could play him on all those maps. They're not even going to pick Fringe. And then Overload, I mean, Falcons would get that map pick. And they would probably ban, I mean, you could say they would ban Gridlock because I think they would be confident enough to play him on the other maps. Probably ban Gridlock. Let's say they ban Gridlock. So Thieves would pick Sake Gridlock. Sake Gridlock. Sake Gridlock hardpoint ban. These would probably pick like a Colossus. I wouldn't even be surprised if they pick Colossus. They could pick Colossus or Den. Colossus or Den. Let's say they pick Den. Okay, let's say they pick Den. And then Falcons would probably pick Colossus because they have no choice. They wouldn't pick Scar. And you can't pick Gridlock. And you're not going to pick Hasi. So a Den Colossus, and then for S&D, probably get another Den, of course. And then you might get like a Gridlock in here. You might get a Gridlock or Hasi. I mean, I don't even know. They actually might pick Fringe. They could pick Fringe too. I'll just put Fringe. I'll put Fringe for now. And then if you left that map open, Thieves is not going to pick Exposure, obviously. They're just going to pick Den. So like a triple Den, a Colossus, and a Fringe, just for example. I know these map picks more than any are probably going to be off. But even if you had a triple Den and the Colossus, I mean, freaking LA2 would probably just take this. Just like based off of skill. I feel like Thieves would take that. I thought there was going to be a chance for an upset. Because I could very well see OpTic and Thieves getting upset by the same team. But I know sometimes Falcons just likes to roll over. And, you know, roll over and just like, you know, pass away. So we got a Paris Thieves FaZe G2. Very, very, I could see G2 making the grand finals. I'm not even going to lie. I could very well see G2. I swear to you, I could see G2 making the grand finals. But do they have that? I think skies might fucking break down, dude. I think skies might break down. I think FaZe would be licking their lips. I don't even know. Okay, every time I do a bracket prediction, I'm like, FaZe just sucks. And somehow, I just always have them going so deep. It's just like the skill. Just the skill of every other team is like so far down. It's like, it just makes it easy for them. And they just have a good matchup. I don't even know, honestly. I don't even know if FaZe would make it. I think they would make it past Paris. I think just based off S&Ds, they'd make it past Paris. And they match up very well against Thieves. That's why I have them going through, honestly. I think it's matchups. If they're facing OpTic, I'd probably have OpTic, honestly. There's a lot of teams. Even if they're facing Falcons, I'd probably put Falcons over them, you know. Miami, if they ran into Miami. But they're not really running into any of those teams. When's the last time they played G2? They haven't played G2 in a minute. They haven't played G2 since Mamba days. And I'm on FaZe 2, right? They didn't play him at the Minor 2 tourney. They didn't play him Major 4 qualifiers. They didn't play him at the Major 3 tournament. They didn't play him at the Minor 1 tournament. Major 3 qualifiers, they didn't play him. They didn't play him Major 2 tournament? There's no way. They haven't played him since Major 2 qualifiers? There's no way. That's not even real. They actually haven't played G2 in that long, and that was with Mamba too. This is like a different team now. Lost 3-2 then. I think Paris would beat them. I mean, I think FaZe would beat G2 pretty handedly, I feel. I don't even know how FaZe is in the grand finals, bro. I actually don't even want them to win because I've been talking about how terrible they are. And here they are in another grand final in my bracket. My bracket's definitely messed up for sure. For sure. Just watch Thieves smack the hell out of... Watch Thieves smack the hell out of FaZe. Just watch them smack the hell out of FaZe. Like, I know my bracket's going to look crazy just because you see G2 and Breach, you know, and you see a FaZe G2 winner final. It just doesn't look normal because you're used to seeing, like, the top teams in the winner final. But, you know, I like to predict for upsets. And, you know, as the actual tourney goes on and we see actual results, I'll be able to, like, predict based on those by just, like, doing some messed up bracket predictions. And I think Thieves is going to beat Paris here. I think Thieves is going to beat Paris here. I don't know why I just copied Paris. That was my bad. I think Thieves is going to beat Paris there, and I'm going to do the map set on that. I think Thieves have a better overload and a better S&D than Paris. I think Paris's miracle run is going to end, and Thieves is going to go down there. G2 is going to go down there. And we're going to get a Thieves FaZe Grand Final. I'll just make it that simple. Thieves FaZe Grand Final. G2 top 3. Can you imagine? G2 top 3. I mean, that's a good place for them. That'll move them up the standings for sure if they actually do manage to get that. But will they? Leaves a lot to be desired here. So we're going to go a FaZe Thieves Grand Finals. FaZe Thieves Grand Finals. We're going to open up the map set again. I like just did this. So I think things are obviously going to change when it comes to a grand final. And the team and the winners, I think the vetoes are a little bit different now. I think they changed them. But I'm just going to guess. I'm not even going to teammate TB, whatever. I think the winners team actually gets like the control veto. I think they get the control veto or something. They got the control veto. I'm not sure if it changed or not. Let me pull something up here. Let me pull something up. Completed matches, CDL only. Let's go back to the major tournament here. Let's go to major. Lose round 2. Okay, so let's go grand finals. Major 3 grand finals. Here I am trolling again. So the map vetoes. So OpTic came in from the winners. And they got the... Okay, they got to pick the overload. They got to pick the overload. Oh, yeah, I guess they also got to pick Team A or Team B, I guess. And then they get the 3, 4, 5, and then 6 and 7 are defaults. Okay. So if FaZe came in, FaZe would probably pick Team B. Oh, shocker. And then probably ban Sake again. I mean, not surprised. These are maybe ban Hossie this time. Maybe they would learn. Maybe they would learn and play Scar. That's what I'd like to think. You know, everyone likes to change things up for the grand finals. And then Sake S&D would be banned again. And then these would maybe ban Raid again and try something different. Overload. Overload. Who gets the overload ban? Overload ban would be... Okay, I'm on the wrong thing. Overload ban would be LAT if they're picking. Okay, I don't even know why. I should just give like the winners team like a better advantage. So these would get the ban, and they would probably ban exposure. Of course, you gotta ban exposure. So if Sake's ban, would FaZe pick Scar? Or would they pick Gridlock? I think FaZe would pick Gridlock. So let's say Gridlock. They're probably not gonna pick Colossus. I think they would test their luck on Gridlock more. And they did play him on that map last time. It was a pretty close map, but I'm not sure if that... No, that was OpTic, actually. That was OpTic. Okay, anyways. I think LA2 would pick a Den S&D. They always freaking pick it. They don't even care. I think they would pick a Den Overload. So we'd probably get a Den, and they would probably get a Gridlock Overload because it does alphabetical for, like, the default maps, if you guys didn't know. I'm pretty sure it's alphabetical. So get a Gridlock, Den, and then map number 4 would be their pick. Would be the Thieves' pick. So if FaZe picks Gridlock and Sasake and Hossie are banned, it would leave Scar, Den, Colossus. And these wouldn't pick Scar, they'd either pick Colossus or Den. They would probably pick Colossus if I had to guess. No, they'd probably pick Den. I think they'd pick Den. I think it'd be a triple Den, to be honest. And then map number 5 would be FaZe's pick. And, I mean, it could be anything, honestly. It could be anything. They might try Hossie again. They could try Gridlock again. They could play Fringe again, depending how the winners final went. They might just pick it again. So let's say they pick Fringe again. It could very well be Hossie. You know, they could pick it again. So Gridlock, Den, Fringe, and then the last 2 maps are defaulted, and I think they're defaulted by alphabetical order. And if Exposure's banned, it would be Gridlock, Overload, and then map number 5 would be alphabetical. So if Fringe got picked, if Den got picked, and Gridlock was not picked, it would probably be Gridlock. Den, Fringe. Okay, hold on. Den, Fringe. Den, Fringe, Gridlock. Hossie. Yeah, it'd be Gridlock. It'd be a double Gridlock. A triple Gridlock and a triple Den and a Fringe. That just looks so weird, hey? That looks so trolly. Gridlock. So, this map set, I mean, probably not right, but because I just don't know what the S&D vetoes would be depending on what happens, like the winners final, how they would change. I'd have to see the ones from the winners finals first to be able to predict it. Gridlock, Den, Fringe, Gridlock. Very interesting. The Gridlock could go either way. Like the Den S&D could go either way. The Den Overload would slightly favor these, but could go either way. Fringe S&D could go either way. Gridlock Overload could go either way because FaZe has been 7-0ing teams on it. And Gridlock S&D could go either way. Very interesting. If you're Thieves, you kind of have to win this. This would be a very impressive win if you're Thieves, honestly. Be a very impressive win, because if you win this, you'll not only be going back to back, it's also the momentum you need going at the champs, knowing you just won everything and you just got over your hump of beating FaZe after you just lost to them, and you pretty much beat them on a map set that actually kind of favors them, to be honest. And I know Thieves is probably thinking there isn't as much of a matchup there as maybe I think, but I think there is more of a matchup there, and I think if they beat them after losing to them, that would be like the last, okay, if we could beat this team, we're pretty much good, even though they already just 3-0'd them. But a Gridlock, Den, Fringe, Gridlock, I mean, if I had to pick. Okay, so let's pick right now. Let's go Thieves. I mean, I could see FaZe taking that because FaZe actually plays the map very well, but also LET almost lost to OpTic on that map, or I think OpTic beat him on that map. And FaZe is very trolly. FaZe could get very trolly at any given time. You never know. They could play good in the winners final, bad here, you know. You just never know. LET can make the mid-run adjustments. It could just be an LET, you know. It could very well be an LET. And the Gridlock, I mean, and the thing about this LET team now is they're very good at adapting now. Like, that's something they weren't really great at before, but they got better at it now. They're very good at adapting. They adapt very well to situations and what teams do. And it's a very big thing to happen, especially in a championship Sunday, deep into a game, a gritty game, being able to adjust and make decisions off the fly. And I think they could counter FaZe's S&D better in a best of 7 than a best of 5. That extended series, I think, actually plays in their favor more than FaZe, even though FaZe did also win against OpTic as well, more handedly than Thieves did, beat them 4-1 as opposed to Thieves' 4-3. But they did smoke them at like the minor tournament, but that was online, but it doesn't really matter. I think, looking at this map set, I think Thieves will probably take this. I think Thieves may just edge them out in this grand final. I wouldn't be surprised if FaZe win this. FaZe could very easily win this from this perspective. FaZe could very well win this, but I think I have, oh, whoops, almost just circled over FaZe. I think Thieves is going to win this from the losers. Let me try to circle this a little bit better. I think Thieves is going to win. And this is going to be my bracket prediction for the Major 4 tournament happening this Friday. It's going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday tourney. There's no Thursday. It's going to be Friday. It starts at 5 a.m. Pacific. So that's 7 a.m. Eastern. Be there. I will be there. I don't work. So I will be there 7 a.m. Eastern on time in the stream. Twitch.tv/BORI7OS. YouTube.com/BORI7S. BORI7OS. Burritos. Same as the YouTube that you guys are watching this. Follow the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. This has been another episode of the Burrito Talk. Okay, no. I'm doing that again. But let me know your guys' predictions for this major tournament in the comments down below. I know most of you guys are going to say Thieves. Some of you guys are going to say OpTic because I know a lot of OpTic fans. And I know people are just going to say Thieves because they're the best team, whatever. I very well think FaZe could beat LAT if this grand final happens in this map set. If the map set changes, my opinion will change. If Thieves beat FaZe in winners round 2, Thieves is going to win from the winner side, but this is just how I had the bracket. If FaZe goes on to losers, they're not even going to make it to the grand finals. So FaZe needs to stay in the upper because they're not going to make it to grand finals from the losers, in my opinion. They will lose to teams down there. But they have a good matchup against Paris and LA Thieves. And then if they face a team below them in the winners final, they'll win. G2 may not make it that far. OpTic could very well beat Breach. And OpTic could be going to the winners final against FaZe. And if FaZe faces OpTic in the winners final, I think OpTic's going to beat them. So that's another thing. That's another scenario that I didn't pan out because obviously I did this bracket this way. But this is my fun little bracket. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you Friday in the stream. I'll be streaming throughout the week because no one else is streaming, so I'll be streaming. I'll be watching the process and all that stuff, packing, cleaning the house out, doing all that stuff in the morning. I'll be streaming throughout the day. I'll be a daytime streamer. You guys will be getting a daytime stream. You guys don't have that right now. So I will be that for you this week while everyone else travels to Paris. This has been another episode of the Borito Talk podcast. I am your host, Burrito, the #1 CDL ESPN analyst / content creator in the world, saying au revoir, goodbye. We'll see you on Friday. Peace. Merci. Au revoir. Goodbye.